Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing great, whether it be night or day, wherever you are. If you're new to the channel, hi, welcome, and I'm so happy that you can join us today for another story that I wrote, which is an Alucard ex-listener. To be quite frank, I had a bit of a hard time with the accents, but I hope that I have given it a bit of justice. Anyways, as always, links for the music used in this video will be down below, and further announcements will be said after the video. I hope you guys enjoy. It was a dark and rainy night. Oh, of course it was. Not like the dilapidated remains of Dracula's former castle, and the ruins of what's left of the Belmont Hold was enough to paint the gloomy picture to perfection. But for Alucard, who was cooped up in his room reading his nightly fill of Monster Hunter knowledge, it was a haven. Maybe it was simply the human part of him talking, but he did enjoy the noise that the rain made to fill the barren castle. It was nice having to hear something else other than the ghastly howl of the wind every once in a while, further proving his loneliness to be very much existent. He froze all of a sudden, mid-flipping the page as his ears perked up, eyes darting to where the sound might have emanated from. It was persistent, as if knocking with a purpose. He sprung to his feet and moved in full speed across the vast spaces of the castle towards the front door, holding out his long sword. Who in realms this are? If it were a foe, they might have as well have rammed the door in. And yet, even without having done so, it seems they could have, the more that they persisted. He groaned, but kept alert nonetheless as he held the door's handle. What was he doing? He was perfectly able to fend off anyone, so why was he acting like a timid mouse? The moment he opened it slightly, the banging stopped, and the sight that greeted him was the last thing that he would have expected. There before him stood an unfamiliar drenched individual looking up to his towering height. Hi, not to be rude, but can I come in? You utter, gripping to the little warmth that your soaked clothes scarcely provided. Alucard looked at you warily, golden eyes nearly piercing through you, as his eyes trailed your whole figure. I swear it's simply till the rain stops. You added. He groaned, thinking that he might regret such, but his mother's better nature got the best of him anyways as he opened the door larger. Without hesitation, you rushed in, and Alucard was about to tell you off somehow for tracking water in the palace, but was surprised that you had the common decency to at least simply stay put in one place, sat on the floor just out of the wind's reach. What? Well, I'm sure you didn't want your castle to be wet if I tracked rainwater in. You reasoned as he raised a brow. Alucard's eyes looked at you in amusement before a soft chuckle escaped his lips. True, but now you could hardly call it a castle.
I'll risk it. I'd rather not wake up to a frostbitten corpse first thing in the morning.
He smiled, relieved that it hadn't been a stake to the heart that greeted him. He instructed you to stay there for a while before heading off to his room. You were about to question it, but as you look back up, he was already nowhere to be found.
Here, Take this.
A voice suddenly said, making you jolt slightly as he handed you some spare clothes. You stood up and gladly took it, not even bothering to question where in realms he had come from. Without hesitation, you began to free yourself from the damp clothes and let the heat of the castle touch your skin even more, making Alucard hastily turn away as you changed. He cleared his throat instead and spoke, questioning if you knew where you were. The shuffling behind him stopped momentarily as you answered. Well, somewhere that isn't freezing, that's for sure. Look, I need only a place to stay dry until the rain ceases, and you were simply unfortunate enough to open the door. Alucard turned to eye you once more, internally questioning, or rather debating, whether you were simply brave or foolish to have still knocked, having known the palace. Then again, as he turned to your discarded clothes, he saw a familiar glint of a weapon to which your confidence might have come from. I had taken from one of the people who died from the night creature's attack. Rest assured, I have no intention of using it unless necessary, you said, seeing him eye it. Alucard gave you an amused smile, telling you to follow him further in. You took a deep breath as you looked around and obliged. You were in awe, but rather having barely survived the attacks left and right, that left the thought in the least of your worries for now, bothering yourself with only what's important. You were on the run and pissed at the fact that the surviving people in the village lost hope, to the point of telling you that it was pointless to even learn how to use a sword now that everyone is going to be attacked anyways. With knotted brows, you kept your persistence. You then smiled. And if my guess is correct, you're Adrian Tepish, aren't you? Alucard turned to you momentarily.
And if I am?
He squinted, finding you a growing mystery at every passing second, and whether he would doubt your calmness is something he has yet to know. Instead, he corrects you but asks of how you come to know his name. I'm pretty sure having a library filled with immense knowledge of such with little to no security and easily accessible to scout at would have been obvious. But I do want to leave that to your imagination, Alucard. You said, having read about him in the recent edition from an unknown author with a triangle book. It was peculiar, but an interesting read nonetheless. As the two of you walked the halls, you found yourself sharing a laugh with the blonde. He applauded you as most knew not to approach neither the hold nor the palace, for obvious reasons. And if that weren't going to deter them away, then the sight of machineries probably would. What he was surprised of, though, was how he had failed to detect your presence there before. I simply have been reading down there and learning in my free time. No night creatures has ever come close, so that's a bonus. Honestly, in this world, if you're not strong enough, might as well know how to do things. Right? Someone with innate curiosity? Alucard quipped internally as you questioned where he was even taking you, as this had been quite a walk now. But you knew that wherever he was leading you to, this wouldn't have even scoured a quarter of the palace's vastness. Alucard's voice broke the silence as he suddenly asked you if you wanted something to drink or eat. Most people, especially with a grumbling stomach, wouldn't have questioned it. But yet again, you didn't fail to surprise him by doubting its safety.
If I'd had wanted to dispose of you, I would have simply thrown you back out. Poisoning you would have taken too much work, don't you think?
You smiled back at him and unsheathed your sword. I bet you can't even get close. To which he replied,
I implore you that it would be wise to lower your weapon, lest you think you can take me.
He grinned playfully when you didn't, and lunged at you in full speed, flicking the sword out of your grasp onto his, before placing its tip in an uncomfortable proximity to your chin, using his other hand to hold you in place.
Is this close enough?
Your smile never faltered when you nodded, making him hastily put the weapon away before you cut yourself on it. His slight flustered state gave you an advantage when you slid down to kick his feet and make him fall. He smiled, simply floating, but not expecting the air to be knocked out of him when you straddled him instead and pinned him to the ground with the sword in his hand.
Close, but not close enough. This is more advantageous.
His serious expression changed all of a sudden, and the both of you shared a small laugh not long after as you got off him and helped him up. He then realized he hadn't asked for your name and done so, seeing as it was unfair that you had full knowledge of him and he not of you. You did reply, and he nods, opening a door a few steps away.
Well, listener, would you like that meal now?
The rain pelted on and the wind held further as hours passed with you two simply seated in the small room that he made into some sort of dining. After all, he was solely the one eating, so what was the point of using a grand dining hall? But now, he liked this. Conversing with you was much more enjoyable than another night of reading, and very much so, as another chuckle escaped him. He reveled at the sound, as it had been a long while since there was any laughter at the place, long even when he lived there.
It seems you know more of swords than a mere beginner,
he commented, knowing one would be fumbling awkwardly around with its weight. You took another bite at the fish.
Well, my father was a soldier that protected the city before, so I grew up around weapons. I haven't really held one till recently, but I guess watching him use it all this time helped. He's also the one that told me all about Dracula's castle, aside from the tales that I know of recent from reading, that is.
You confessed, eyeing the sword on the floor.
That had been his, but I kept it with me when he died of one of the attacks.
Alucard suddenly apologized for even bringing the topic.
It's fine. The world has gone to so much shambles that you can't grieve all day. You best equip yourself with much knowledge as you can. I, on the other hand, apologize for you. Imagine having Dracula as your father. No offense.
He took a sip of the wine. On the contrary, he tells you that it wasn't even that bad before his mother died. He then smiled, telling you that you do even resemble her in a way, and she would have loved your drive.
Well, she does seem like a fun person, and a brave one at that for marrying your father.
He laughed. The more you two talked, the more he seemed interested. Maybe it was simply the lack of company, though he was indeed wary, but couldn't shake the feeling that you reminded him of comfort somehow. Much so that it took you two a while to realize that the rain had ceased long ago and the early morning rays seeped through the windows till you looked out.
Oh, I should go now. Thank you for everything. You're a great cook, you know that?
You say, only for him to stand up and stop you midway.
Oh, the clothes. Sorry, here.
He raises his brow. Did you really think he was asking for it back?
Where are you going to go?
You thought for a moment.
Well, who knows? Find food, probably read up a little in the Belmont Hold and learn. And then, find a tree to sleep and move on.
Your words reminded him of someone that he knew very well. Someone who would have been proud of you even stepping foot in the hold in the first place. The town was mostly destroyed, presuming so was your home, and he was right. He took a moment to think, not wanting to make the same mistake that he did a while back. It seemed as if the comfort you brought implored him to say the next words. Or maybe it was something else. He chuckled to himself as he did, and as if history repeated itself, he asked,
Since you have nowhere to go, stay here, in the castle. I'm sure there's space somewhere.
He joked.
And while you're at it, feel free to learn as much as you'd like. My father's knowledge here, then the Belmont Hold at your disposal, and...
He trails, pointing to his temple.
Well, mine up here.
He knew that passing down knowledge to you would have been something that his mother and even Trevor would have liked, but more importantly, something he would too. You smiled and paused, looking at him.
Wow, was it the way that I quite so literally swept you off your feet that made you say so, or was it the concussion that you probably have from hitting the ground earlier speaking?
He laughs as you did a small bow.
Well, sir, the Alucard of the castle, so dilapidated. Alucard? I would love to.
As he picked up your sword for you, his own father's voice from the countless of stories that his mother told him echoed in his own lips as he spoke.
I think I would like you.
Okay, so that was it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing, as I am posting 5 days a week. And again, links will be in the description down below, and also my Discord tag in the about page of my YT if you like to DM me or just interact, because I'm mostly on there. If you have any original stories that I can read or you would like to submit, kindly link them down below or send them to me via DM, or even links to some personal favorites, as long as I have permissions, or maybe requests for some characters or scenarios. Just DM me or place it in the comments down below, and I would definitely love to read them, and hopefully be able to do them justice when I write them. Okay, that's really it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, stay hydrated, stay safe, bye!